Good morning, Dan and Amy. And so the argument that, or the spin, I should say, it's not really an argument, it really is just spin, that Hillary Clinton and her flacks are making over the weekend after the FBI's sonic boom on Friday is violation of protocol. Everything is about process with them, right? We don't want to talk about the substance of what's in the WikiLeaks emails. We just want to talk about the Russians and the fact that they were illegally hacked. That's how they came to surface. And perhaps that's the existence of WikiLeaks prompted the announcement that was unearthed on Friday. But the idea that this is unprecedented, an unprecedented violation of protocol by the FBI to engage in any type of discussion of an investigation, issue any indictments of persons running for office just less than 2 weeks before an election. It turns out the D.C. press corps' memory is a little short, their institutional knowledge a little thin, because I remember 1992 and Cap Weinberger, who was Reagan's Secretary of Defense, and, of course, George W. Bush, H.W. Bush was the Vice President of the United States, and so Iran-Contra, and Cap Weinberger's indictment just days before the election in 1992 that many argue threw the election to Bill Clinton against George Herbert Walker Bush. And listen to what Bill Clinton and Al Gore had to say about that October surprise back in 92.
And all along, the Clinton campaign has been trying to make an issue of George Bush's credibility. The revelations today about Iran-Contra played right into that theme.
Today's disclosure that President Bush knew and approved of the arms for hostages deal with Iran not only directly contradicts the president's claims, it diminishes the credibility of the presidency. It raises the question, first and most importantly, about whether he's told the truth in this campaign and for the last 5 years. And secondly, it raises the whole question of his support for the policy. But the far more important thing is whether for 5 years he's been telling the American people something about his conduct of foreign policy as vice president, which was simply not true.
Yeah, oh boy, I think you could pose the same questions to a certain former Secretary of State who violated a protocol at minimum when she decided to set up her private homebrew email server, didn't she? Well, for more on this and the legal implications, how this may play out over the next 8 days in particular, we're pleased to be joined again by Joe Digenova. He is a former U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia. Joe, thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.
And so it looks like you may yet still be right. You predicted before Comey's announcement that he wasn't going to refer charges, that he would refer charges, that Hillary would be indicted. Well, maybe you're just, you just had to wait a little bit longer to be correct.
Well, actually, what happened here was you are witnessing the 2016 version of the Kane Mutiny. The FBI agents in the field and at headquarters are in complete revolt. This is a mutiny. The agents in New York continued to investigate this case without the knowledge of people at Main Justice. They discovered the laptop with the 650,000 State Department emails on it 1 month ago and did not notify the director until Thursday of last week. This was done purposely to give him no choice but have to notify Congress. And if James Comey had not sent that letter to Capitol Hill, the agents would have leaked the information to the press. So in order to maintain the apparent control of his agency, he sent the letter. And he was boxed in by his original investigation, which obviously wasn't thorough or complete, because if it had been thorough and complete, they would have discovered the Anthony Weiner laptop first time around. So all in all, this is pretty embarrassing for the director. But as far as the Democrats complaining about it, really, quite frankly, nothing embarrasses the Democrats, of course. But this is really quite remarkable. And I think we of course, we have no way of knowing how this will affect the campaign, but I'm sure it will have some effect.
But they found these emails a month ago. Why did they wait so long to bring it to Comey's attention?
To box him in.
Really interesting.
Because if this had been done a month ago, they would have hemmed and hawed. They did it now. The agents are pretty smart. These men and women are not dumb. They were furious about what he did in July. He held a news conference, which was completely unnecessary. He made all these public statements about the facts of the law, all of which was incorrect. He made a judgment because the Loretta Lynch had been recused from the case because of her corrupt meeting with Bill Clinton on that airplane in the tarmac in Phoenix. She was out of the case. He took complete control. He decided he was going to be a hero. Once he held that news conference, and once he made it clear that the Bureau said there's no crime here, those agents out in the field went ballistic. And so did people at headquarters. So the bottom line was, this was inevitable. It was just a matter of when it was going to happen. And the agents picked the moment to make him have no other choice.
Well, so this is interesting, and the Kane Mutiny metaphor is interesting, too, because it seems to me then he's Commander Queeg, regardless of who wins on Tuesday.
That's right, marbles and strawberries.
Oh, I love a Kane Mutiny reference this early in the morning. I really do. So it's and what you're saying runs counter to what some other reports are, that he was looking for an opportunity to re-enter. He was looking for an opportunity to redress what he did a couple of months earlier. And you're suggesting, no. He was put in God's little acre by rank and file.
Oh, absolutely. Now, it may also be true that he was looking for a way out. But the bottom line is it didn't matter what he was looking for because the mutiny was underway. And this was going to be put on his desk with very little time to decide purposely, so that he had no choice but to send a letter to Capitol Hill in light of his incredibly stupid testimony that he gave a number of times on the Hill after his July news conference.
The Wall Street Journal reports as many as 650,000 emails may have to be poured through.
Yes.
That is not going to happen in the next week. There's no way, is there?
Oh, no, but here's what's clear. The agents who found this data on Weiner's computer did not read the emails, but they did read the headers. And you would have to do that in order to determine whether or not you should get a search warrant.
Right.
Now, they didn't need a search warrant because they were legally in possession of the computer, and Weiner gave them permission to look at the emails. They got a search warrant just to cover their fannies, dot their I's, cross their T's. They already know what's in the emails. My guess is, I haven't been told this yet, I think the 33,000 deleted ones are in there.
Yeah, that was my conjecture as well. That's really so. So with respect to those emails, what happens? What happens in the next week? Anything, or they're just going to be? This is just going to be under investigation through Election Day.
Well, I don't believe that Comey should say anything more. If he does, he's making another terrible mistake. He's already done enough damage to the Bureau. And forget him. He's done a tremendous amount of damage to himself, but I don't give one hoot about James Comey. Bottom line is he should shut up. He should let the process, and of course it will not be completed by Election Day. This is what she has chosen. This problem exists because she created a private server in the basement of her home in Chappaqua, New York. She can whine all she wants about James Comey. If she hadn't broken the law, which she did by setting up this server, notwithstanding what the FBI director said in his July news conference, she broke the law big time, or big league, as someone might say. Bottom line is, this is her problem. She created it, and the best proof of that is Neera Tanden's email, where she says, who the hell told her to do this? Who gave her the authority to do this? Now, her own people knew that this was goofy and stupid.
All right, so ABC said that some top senior FBI officials implored Comey not to go public with this. Is there any truth to that?
Those people are the same ones who told him to hold the news conference. Okay. So I don't know who these senior people at the Bureau are, but I can tell you this. They were completely undone by the rank-and-file FBI agents in New York who continued this investigation without notifying FBI headquarters or Main Justice. And by the way, Main Justice, headed by Loretta Lynch, is the most politically corrupt Department of Justice in the last 100 years. They are so unembarrassable that they continue to do and say things publicly that, believe me, are quite an embarrassment to graduates like myself of the Department of Justice. I've worked in Main Justice. I was a United States attorney. I was an assistant U.S. attorney. I've been a special prosecutor, and I watched the performance of this attorney general. She is one of the most embarrassing occupants of that office since John Mitchell.
Wow, that's a statement. Let me ask you this about the rank and file as well as Comey. This is conjecture, of course, but doesn't it defy reason that there would be anything short of having Hillary Clinton dead to rights for having violated the law with respect to what they suspect is on Anthony Weiner's computer for them to move forward and reopen it. There has to be something that rises the level of a smoking gun, right?
He would have never done this were he not already aware that there are things on the computer. There are obviously things about the Clinton Foundation, the pay-for-play. The most dangerous stuff in here for purposes of the way they are enforcing current law is perjury and obstruction. There is no doubt that there's evidence on there showing that Hillary lied, that members of her staff lied, that Ms. Mills lied, that the other woman who was a lawyer lied. I mean, that is the speculation now among agents in the Bureau who have not seen the headers on that. I think it would be a pretty good guess that there's fairly substantial information on there which would relate to the Clinton Foundation and to evidence of perjury and obstruction of justice. And if that's the case, then, of course, given what they had done with Petraeus and General Cartwright, and this poor midshipman who's doing a year in prison for taking photographs inside the submarine, if she were not, if there aren't going to be charges out of this at this point, it's going to get much, much worse. And if she happens to be elected, which is certainly conceivable given who the hell knows what's going to happen. If she's elected, can you imagine how she is going to govern this country?
She's going to turn over the reins to Vice President Tim Kaine, I suspect, with what you're suggesting could come to pass. All right, he is.
Did you see her doing that, taking the presidency out of her cold bed?
Yeah, no, I know.
No,
well,
she'll pardon herself.
That's up until the FBI jackets show up at her Brooklyn campaign office on November 8th. I don't know. Joe Digenova, former U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. Joe, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.